how you doing? My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a great show, with some great episodes. Twilight's Kingdom, Magical Mystery Cure, A Royal Problem, Return of Harmony, the list goes on and on. But what happens if you look at the worst rated episodes? Well, that's what I'm doing in today's video. I'm going to be taking IMDb's 5 lowest rated episodes and seeing if they deserve it, or if they're actually slept on. Now, I might not actually have the top 5 worst. I'm not sure, I might have missed one. I'm the kind of guy to do that. If I did, that's my bad, let me know in the comments, but it's what I believe to be the 10 lowest rated episodes on IMDb. I guarantee there will be episodes you think are awful that I won't include in this video, and you might really like the ones I do put on the list. So that's why I'm using IMDb to give an objective starting point for us to then look at and possibly reconsider, but still, please do leave a comment if you think another episode works better on this list, or if you have something to say about one of the episodes I do actually feature. Speaking of, according to IMDb, the top 5 lowest rated My Little Pony episodes are, from lowest to highest rated: The Mysterious Mare Do Well, Spike at Your Service, Some Pony to Watch Over Me, Princess Spike, and Noncomplete Claws. And with all that established, let's get on to our first and highest rated episode on the list, The Mysterious Mare Do Well. So first up, The Mysterious Mare Do Well, sitting at 6.3 on IMDb. This episode has a reputation, and not a great one. A lot of people call it one of Rainbow Dash's worst moments, and honestly I can see why. As a Dashi fan, watching her being portrayed as this over-the-top, self-obsessed show-off for almost the entire episode isn't exactly fun. But despite all that, I still find this episode kind of entertaining. The episode follows Rainbow Dash as she saves Ponyville over and over again, boasting about her feats afterwards, reveling in the praise. Later in the episode, however, the mysterious Mare Do Well appears, outshining her in every turn, and Rainbow starts to spiral into insecurity. The story is basically about humility, but it delivers this message in the most heavy-handed, condescending way possible. The issues aren't just with Rainbow's ego, they're also with how the rest of the main 6 deal with it. Instead of talking to her or helping her grow, they disguise themselves as a superhero to one-up her, then sit back and smugly watch her fall apart. It's meant to be a lesson, but it plays out more like a weird intervention with capes and masks. That said, the episode has style. The Mare Do Well stuff is visually cool and the action scenes are fun, and even if Rainbow's behaviour is exaggerated, it's still very her. I wouldn't put this episode in my personal bottom 5. It's flawed, but there's a charm to the superhero parody and just enough energy to keep it from being a total loss. So yeah, I understand why people dislike it, but for me, still fun to watch, even if it's wrapped up in a weird moral. Next on the list is Spike at Your Service, rated 6.1 on IMDb. And look, this episode gets a lot of flack, but I honestly don't think it's as awful as people make it out to be. It's definitely not a standout, and it has its fair share of awkward moments, but it's not bottom tier material in my book. The premise is simple. Spike has a life debt to Applejack after she saves him from a Timberwolf attack, and he insists on serving her in every possible way until the debt is repaid. What follows is a series of chores gone horribly wrong, with Spike being more of a hindrance than a help. It's classic cartoon setup, and sure, it gets repetitive, but it's not bad, it's just a little drawn out. The biggest criticism usually comes from how oddly Spike is written here. He's suddenly terrible at tasks we've seen him handle competently before, and his insistence on sticking to this dragon code comes out of nowhere. It feels like the writers bent his personality to fit the plot rather than the other way around. But even with those issues, the episode does have its moments. The Timberwolf fight is cool, and there's some Applejack-Spike interaction we don't see often. And the pacing at least keeps things moving. It's flawed, yeah, but not irredeemable. More meh than mess. At 6.1 on IMDb, Some Pony to Watch Over Me isn't exactly beloved, and from what I've seen, a lot of fans are pretty down on it, but honestly, I've always actually kinda liked this one. I know I'm not in the majority, but this episode stuck with me, and even on rewatch, I find it genuinely enjoyable. The story revolves around Applebloom being left home alone for the first time, only for Applejack to instantly spiral into fully overprotective big sister mode. It escalates fast, maybe too fast, but there's something really charming about how it all plays out. The tone feels lively, the pacing snappy, and even though the plot stretches into a full-blown absurdity by the end, it somehow works. Yes, the episode has its shortcomings. Applejack's behaviour is cranked way up, to the point where she comes off as cartoonishly smothering, and the Chimera Swamp finale is a lot. Yet, it's something that has stuck with me for years, in a good way. For me, the episode manages to feel long without dragging, which is honestly kind of rare. There's momentum to it that keeps things interesting, even when it's being ridiculous. It's not the deepest or most thoughtful episode, but it's memorable, fun, and has some sweet silly moments at its core. Definitely not bottom tier in my eyes. Next up is Princess Spike, sitting at 5.7 on IMDb, and continuing a bit of an unfortunate trend. Spike solo episodes just don't quite hit the mark. I swear, I don't hate Spike, he's a great character in the right context. He's loyal, snarky, often the voice of reason, and can be really charming when he's bouncing off the rest of the cast. But give him the spotlight and, well, we end up with stuff like this. The episode centers on Spike taking over royal duties while Twilight is resting during a summit. It's meant to be a lesson about responsibility, not letting power go to your head. Solid enough in theory, but the execution just feels a little flat. Spike's decisions are either bafflingly short-sighted, or wildly selfish, and it makes him come off as careless rather than relatable. There's not much nuance, and by the time he learns his lesson, it doesn't feel all that satisfying. The problem isn't that Spike can't carry an episode. It's that writing often puts him in these forced, awkward situations that don't play to his strengths. Instead of witty or clever problem solving, we get him bumbling through a bunch of red tape and making everything worse for everyone. It's not entertaining, it's just kind of frustrating. Even the side characters feel underutilized, and Twilight's presence in the episode is mostly limited to napping. There's not enough of the show's usual charm or energy to carry it through, and what could have been a fun Spike steps up moment turns into another misadventure with very little payoff. So yes, Princess Spike isn't aggressively bad, but it's just dull. And that might even be worse. Spike works best when he's supporting the chaos, not trying to manage it all himself. And finally, we've got Noncomplete Claws, rated 4.4 on IMDB. And this is one I'm not particularly a fan of. Now, I'll admit, I've got a bit of personal bias here. I've never been the biggest fan of the School of Friendship era in general. Something about it just doesn't click for me, and this episode pretty much sums up why. The core idea is that Applejack and Rainbow Dash are supposed to be teaching teamwork, but end up turning the lesson into a competition that completely overshadows everything else. That could have worked. The show's done friendly rivalry goes too far before, and done it well, but here it's kinda dialed up to the point where both of them just come off as irresponsible and frankly kind of dumb. Plus, we also have had that episode basically before, with Four Weather Friends. It's especially frustrating because these are two characters who have grown so much over the series. Seeing them act like petty foals in front of the students they're meant to be teaching just doesn't feel earned. It's regressive and not in a way that makes a larger point, it just kinda makes everyone look bad. And the young six, who never managed to click with me, but that's a subject for a whole other video, don't get much to do except react to the chaos. And by the end, the lesson feels half-hearted. It's another case where the school setting creates more limitations than opportunities. At least for me. So yeah, it's not awful. I mean, if I had to watch it, I probably would, but it's at the bottom for a reason. Not much magic here. Literally or figuratively. And that's the list. While there were a few episodes that I think are on the worst end there, Some Pony to Watch Over Me and The Mysterious Mare Duel are both episodes I consider pretty entertaining and fun, and would be happy to rewatch. But that's just my opinion though. Yours almost definitely will be different, so let me know in the comments. Do you agree with IMDb's list? Or are there some other episodes you would include here? Maybe I can make a follow-up video about the fandom's most hated episodes. Anywho, that's a whole other conversation. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you really want to support the channel even more, you could become a channel member. Shout out to the Red Ravioli for being the first one of them. This one's been a bit shorter than usual and I apologise for that. I was originally going to do the top 10 videos, but then I thought that'd be too long. And then this one would be too short. Anyway, it's complicated. The next one won't be this short. But yeah, I won't keep you guys for any longer than this now, so thanks for watching. I've been Dash, and I'll see you sometime soon.